Enlil, a formidable figure in the cosmic hierarchy of the Anunnaki, was born of King Anu and Queen Antu, the sovereign rulers of the Anak-Atlantean Empire on the planet Nibiru. He was the youngest of Anu's sons, yet he bore the weight of great expectations, a scion of both draconian and Lyran ancestry, bloodlines steeped in power, conquest, and divine governance. From an early age, Enlil was molded into a warrior prince, trained in the arts of combat, knowledge, leadership, and strategy. He was groomed not merely as a noble but as a potential heir to the empire, a mantle that carried both divine right and imperial obligation. Before his father ascended the throne, Enlil stood as one of the prime candidates for rulership, displaying an unyielding will and a deep-seated belief in manifest destiny. The notion that power was his birthright and dominion over worlds was ordained by the celestial order. Though the throne ultimately passed to Anu, Enlil remained a formidable presence within the empire, his influence extending far beyond the corridors of power. His role would soon become one of dire necessity when crisis struck the empire's resource-gathering efforts. As Nibiru's lifeblood, its gold, waned, desperation took hold. The first expedition to Earth, led by his half-brother Enki and the exiled king Alalu, had failed to extract sufficient quantities of the precious metal required to sustain Nibiru's deteriorating atmosphere. The delay threatened not only Nibiru, but the entire empire. It was then that Anu summoned Enlil, entrusting him with a task that would define his legacy: to assume command over Earth, wrest control from failing hands, and impose order where chaos threatened to fester. Upon his arrival, Enlil wasted no time asserting his authority. Unlike Enki, who approached the world with a scientific mind and a penchant for genetic experimentation, Enlil was a force of absolute power and assertion. He was relentless, unyielding in his pursuit of discipline, structure, and unwavering obedience. His governance was marked by an iron will, shaping the early framework of civilization itself. It was believed that Enlil and his son Ninurta were credited with showing the knowledge of agriculture to mankind. To the ancient people of Earth, Enlil was the commander of all, one who wielded dominion over air and storm, capable of both granting prosperity and unleashing destruction. Enlil, later identified in biblical texts as Yahweh, asserted dominion over Earth following his brother Enki. According to Sumerian records, it was Enlil who compelled Enki to relocate some of the newly created primitive workers to labor in the gold mines of the Apsu and to Eden in Mesopotamia, where they were tasked with farming and shepherding. In the biblical narrative, Yahweh is the one who took Adam and placed him in the Garden of Eden to tend and maintain it. Contrary to later interpretations, Yahweh, not the serpent, is portrayed as the master of Eden, confronting Adam and Eve after their transgression and expelling them for heeding Enki's revelations about the biological secrets of sexual knowledge, which granted them the ability to reproduce. Despite this, the Bible does not explicitly equate Yahweh with Enlil. Unlike the myths that would later be told, neither he nor his kind had created humanity from nothing. Instead, they had genetically altered the ancient hominids who already roamed the planet, reshaping them to serve their needs. With his newfound authority by his father Anu, Enlil and Anunnaki established facilities and superstations from Africa to Asia and all around Earth, naming all lands as Atlantis. In modern-day Iraq, he established the Garden of Eden, a sanctuary and outdoor laboratory where the newly modified humans, ancient ancestors of mankind, could procreate, thrive, remain under strict control to mine gold, and serve the Anunnaki. The Anunnaki, extraterrestrials posing as gods, ensured that the garden remained a closed system. Its perimeter was patrolled by elite armed sentinels, standing watch against the wild, untamed hominids beyond the walls, distant kin of the newly modified species. Trespassers were dealt with mercilessly. Enlil decreed that the primitive workers must never learn the truth of their origins. They were to believe they were creations of the Anunnaki, lesser beings indebted to their divine masters. Ever the cunning strategist, Enlil insisted that a gene be embedded within the human DNA, a mechanism compelling them to worship their so-called creators. Fear and reverence would ensure their servitude. Yet his brother, Enki, possessing both wisdom and compassion, defied this mandate. Enki subtly altered the genetic code, allowing humans the capacity to override this compulsion, to seek knowledge and free themselves from blind obedience. Within Eden, humans multiplied under rigid regulation, their procreation controlled like livestock, only permitted at designated times. The cries of newborns often disturbed Enlil's tranquility, and at his command, the Anunnaki guards culled them without hesitation. It was an efficient system, one that ensured balance and obedience. But to Enki, it was a horror he could no longer ignore. One fateful day, while Adam labored under the watchful eyes of their overseers, Enki approached Eve near the House of Life. His voice, gentle yet resolute, spoke truths forbidden within the garden's walls. He revealed to her that she, Adam, and the others were not mere creations, but cosmic beings with immortal souls. They were equals to their so-called gods, not their inferiors. The angels that stood guard were not celestial beings, but flesh and blood sentinels of the Anunnaki. Their divinity, nothing more than an illusion crafted to deceive. Eve trembled with the weight of these revelations, yet a fire of understanding ignited within her. When Adam returned, she shared what she had learned, and for the first time, the veil of ignorance lifted from his mind as well. A deep, instinctual fear settled over them both, for they knew Enlil would not tolerate such defiance. Hastily, they covered themselves with leaves and sought refuge in the shadows, hoping to escape the wrath they had invited upon themselves. But Enlil knew, he always knew. His fury, veiled in the pretense of divine wrath, descended upon the garden in a whirlwind of roaring winds and crackling energy. He entered Eden personally, his presence an overwhelming force of terror. Adam and Eve, now fully aware of their oppression, met his gaze not with the submission he expected, but with defiance, a glimmer of awakened consciousness that enraged him beyond measure. Without hesitation, Enlil cast them from Eden, ensuring they would struggle and suffer beyond its protective walls. He knew he could not allow their awakening to spread, yet the damage had already been done. Enki's betrayal could not go unpunished. Enlil branded him the snake, the deceiver, a name that would echo through human myths for millennia. Enki had given humanity the fruit of forbidden knowledge, the understanding of good and evil, the very thing Enlil had fought to suppress. But it was too late. The spark had been lit, and humanity's path to self-awareness had begun. In Sitchin's lost book of Enki, it is stated that before a Shah of Nibiru had passed, Adam and Eve had more sons and daughters. Their firstborn were already procreating independently. The earthlings multiplied swiftly. The primitive workers were given understanding, enabling them to follow commands. Eager to be with the Anunnaki, they worked diligently for their food rations, without complaining about the heat or the dust. They did not grumble about the grueling labor. Their resilience alleviated the Anunnaki of the Abzu from the burdens of work. As Sitchin's findings and discoveries about the Anunnaki are finally being revealed in a new light, it is becoming clear that the gods of ancient mythologies were not mere legends, but real beings. Extraterrestrial aliens who wielded advanced technology and possessed the ability to extend their lives for thousands of years in ancient times. These beings adopted the identities of gods, presenting themselves as the creators of humanity on Earth, for they would help dig this gold to send the gold back to Nibiru. It is believed now by ancient civilization communities that Enlil, the youngest and often self-centered brother, took on the roles of Zeus in Greek mythology and Yahweh in the Old Testament, the god who commanded Abraham to sacrifice his only son. Enlil was also Indra, the god of rain and storms in Hinduism, the long-lasting religion of India. In the ancient period, Lord Indra was worshipped as the bravest of the gods and the bringer of rains. Wielding a thunderbolt, Indra was known for battling against monsters. To the ancient Roman civilizations, Enlil can possibly be linked to the god Saturn. Another characteristic that suggests that Enlil was not a god, but a complex extraterrestrial man that assumes a facade is the biblical text of him and his brother Enki, who he often considered Lucifer, placing a wager on a righteous man who unwavering believed in Yahweh as God with every fiber of his being. Enki informs Enlil that Job would not maintain the same devotion to him as to God if he was stripped of all his blessings, including wealth, family, and health, gifts that Enlil had bestowed upon him. They proceed to afflict Job with torment, nearly bringing him to the brink of death and suicide, all to settle a bet regarding the depth of Job's devotion to Lord God Enlil. This event highlights that this being possessed human-like patriarchal emotions and was not, in fact, a creator, but an extraterrestrial with distinct human characteristics. Another text describes Yahweh, also known as Enlil or Zeus, dispatching wild bears to attack and murder a large group of children who had mocked the boldness of Eliseus. This account can be found in 4 kings of the biblical gospel. In Greek mythology, Enlil, known as Zeus, issues commands to mortals, directing them to provide sacrificial offerings of both meats and fruits as a means to secure the blessing of rain and prevent drought on the lands. This practice suggests that Enlil, in his Zeus persona, would receive these food offerings to ensure he didn't have to forage for sustenance, all while promising humanity the bestowal of his divine power, which in reality was advanced technology. This harsh ritual has a parallel in Norse mythology, where Vikings, who are believed to be descended from extraterrestrial beings linked to Enlil, offered deceased animals and even human sacrifices to their Odin, the All-Seeing. This was done as an expression of their love and reverence, hoping to gain the god's favor. This also can be found in Aztec and Mayan traditions and culture, when Thoth starts human civilization over there. During divine assemblies, Enlil presided beside his father, Anu, underscoring his status as a central authority. His words carried a weight both lofty and sacred, and lesser gods deferred to his commands, recognizing the sacred and unchanging nature of his judgments. His primary sanctuary, known as the Ikur, or mountain house, was situated in Nippur, the religious core of southern Mesopotamia until the 2nd millennium BCE. Known as the City of Earth, Nippur embodied Enlil's connection to both the divine and mortal realms. It is said that Enlil and Enki often took on human form, using advanced rejuvenation chamber technology to extend their time among them. The Duranki, a towering Anunnaki space station, ascended into the skies, connecting the celestial starship cities above. Known to humans as the bond of heaven and earth, it symbolized the cosmic link between humanity and the Anunnaki, an order maintained under Enlil's authority. This grand structure also inspired the mythology of the Stairway to Heaven. Enlil's genealogy as Anu's firstborn positioned him atop the divine hierarchy. As father of the gods and lord of all lands, he exercised supreme control over earthly domains and divine rule. His consort was Ninlil, originally known as Sud, with whom he established a lasting union despite their turbulent beginnings. According to numerous Sumerian texts, Ninhursag was in love with her half-brother Enlil, and so Enlil left his seed in her womb. Ninurta, the prince who would one day come to Earth, was born in a time of great fury. At that moment, still on Nibiru, Anu had forbidden Ninhursag from marrying anyone, no matter who they were. Thus, Enki, the eldest son of Anu, had a son by marriage, Marduk, who could take the throne from Enlil. Enlil, the rightful heir of Anu, then had his first boy son, Ninurta, but not by marriage. Enlil's story in this regard was shaped on Earth, not on Nibiru. Enlil had fallen in love with Sud, one of Ninhursag's maidens, while she was bathing in the cold mountain waters. Enlil took Sud to his abode in the cedar grove and offered her the elixir from the fruit of Nibiru that grew on Earth. The two drank, and Enlil made his intentions known. However, Sud, an Ayani woman, told him of her virginity, that her lips had never kissed anyone. Enlil laughed and kissed her, depositing his seed in her womb. Ninhursag, deeming Enlil's actions immoral, denounced him before the 7 who judge. Enlil's sentence was exile to a land of no return, far from all cities. Abgal, Enlil's pilot, took him to a distant land amid inhospitable mountains. Upon landing, Abgal revealed that he had not chosen the location by chance. He told Enlil that in a cave nearby, Enki had hidden weapons of terror from Alalu's ship. Abgal encouraged Enlil to take possession of these weapons to regain his freedom before departing, leaving Enlil alone. Meanwhile, Sud spoke to her commander, Ninhursag, informing her that she was pregnant with Enlil's child. Ninhursag relayed this news to Enki, the Lord of Earth, who was supreme on Earth at that time. Enki decided to summon the seven who judge for a hearing. Sud was questioned about the possibility of accepting Enlil as her husband, and upon her acceptance, Enlil returned from exile to marry Sud, who was now called Ninlil, Lady of the Mandate. From their union, a son named Nanna, the Bright One, was born. It was said that Nanna was the first child of two Atlanteans from Nibiru conceived on Earth, a royal seed from Nibiru brought to life on Earth. Ninlil held an important role, and Enlil largely remained faithful to her. Their offspring included significant deities such as Ninurta. However, it is believed that Ninurta was the true child of Enlil and Ninhursag. Nannar, Ishkur and Nergal, with others like Inanna, Utu, Adad and Namta, also linked to his lineage as his children and grandchildren. Some Anunnaki lineages are depicted differently across texts, with varying accounts of their parentage attributed to Enlil, Enki, or Anu. Scholars often navigate these variations to piece together the missing or hidden Mesopotamian texts and history. However, only time can and will unveil the complete story. In ancient hymns, Enlil is exalted as the deity with profound knowledge of the land's fate and Sumer's destiny, described as the shepherd of the black-headed ones, a title denoting his guardianship over the Sumerians. Known as the Lord of the Rightful Command, he symbolized cosmic balance and divine law. His domain extended from the mountain of sunrise to the mountain of sunset, emphasizing his singular rule over all lands, where no other lord could rival his authority. Enlil's decrees were often seen as irrevocable, although there are instances of his reconsideration, as in the Atrahasis myth, where he initially declared a flood to obliterate humanity, but later revised his decision. Enlil's influence was not limited to punishment. He was also credited with contributions that benefited humanity, including the introduction of agriculture, city architecture and roadways, governance, law, and essential tools, like the plow and pickaxe for farming. His responsibilities included appointing kings who were not sovereign, but instead served as divine stewards, acting according to his heavenly laws. Kings like Hammurabi began their reigns by acknowledging Enlil's divine summons, underscoring their subservience to his celestial authority. Enlil's role was recognized across the inscriptions of Sumerian, Akkadian, and Babylonian rulers, who attributed their legitimacy and victories to his favor. Enlil's portrayal in sacred texts revealed a duality. He could bring prosperity as the Lord of Abundance, but also unleash devastation. In the Great Flood, he was a primary advocate for humanity's destruction, wielding his wind to unleash deadly storms upon rebellious cities. In peaceful times, however, Enlil was benevolent, imparting essential knowledge and maintaining divine order. His status was cemented in the Akkadian period, where he was associated with the number 50, denoting his supreme rank. Typically depicted wearing a horned helmet symbolizing divine authority, he has a muscular giant stature of 9 to 10 feet tall, with typical royal braided hair. Enlil's name and iconography evolved, reflecting shifts in cultural and linguistic traditions. Despite Babylon's rise and Marduk's ascendancy in the 2nd millennium BCE, Enlil retained his importance through his sons, and notably in the Enuma Elish, where, although Marduk's triumph over Tiamat established Babylonian supremacy, Enlil continued to be revered. Enlil's complex character included vulnerabilities akin to human flaws. Bound by divine law, he faced consequences for transgressions, including exile when deemed unjust. This accountability showed that even supreme deities could be subject to cosmic judgment. Mortal rulers, too, occasionally blamed Enlil for their suffering. A Sumerian king once petitioned the divine assembly, claiming Enlil's choice of an inadequate leader had caused his kingdom's downfall. Enlil's legacy continued well into later periods, his unchanging decrees shaping the fates of generations, with gods still deferring to his authority as a cosmic custodian. From sunrise to sunset, Enlil's presence embodied boundless influence, making him a revered and central figure in Mesopotamian spirituality. His cult thrived in Nippur, Babylon, and beyond, where hymns and rituals persistently honored his authority. Enlil's legacy on Earth is one of power, control, and divine authority, shaping civilizations through fear, law, and technological advancements. Revered as Zeus, Yahweh, and Indra across cultures, he demanded obedience, offerings, and loyalty, while wielding immense influence over humanity's fate. His decrees guided kings, established cities, and enforced order, yet his rule was often ruthless, marked by floods, sacrifices, and unwavering punishment. Though once seen as an omnipotent god, his actions reveal the nature of an extraterrestrial ruler, not a creator. Enlil's presence lingers in myths, scriptures, and the echoes of ancient civilizations, leaving behind a legacy both feared and revered. Yet, for all his power, the only one who could truly challenge Enlil was not his brother Enki, but Enki's eldest son, Marduk. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Astral Legends for more ancient myths and astral legends. We'd also like to emphasize that, just like humanity, extraterrestrial beings of any dimension or plane can exhibit a spectrum of good or evil. And all living beings have the power and strength of the Creator of all within them. May the eternal light forever guide your path. See you on the next episode.
この中からおかげの名を継ぐ者も出るやもしれんの。人生ただ一度じゃ。無理な道を選ぶこともない。好きに生き、好きに死んでも構わん。今回はその優しさが適任拘束時の仇となったと見ておる。そもそもお主は昔から心優しい性格じゃったからの。
お前のことだ。何か一つでも敵の情報をつかめば策の一つくらい浮かぶだろうな。1対1でその時間を作れないなら仲間を頼れ。
無駄だって結論に至ったとこっすよ。
お前の状況判断と分析力はこの葉でも屈指のものだ。俺たちが戦う理由、その本当の意味がわからなければまだまだお前を前衛に出すわけにはいかないな。
準備できた？
行くよ、鹿丸。
ああ。
無秩序から秩序を形作り、それを保つための大切な要だった。子供たちを守り、無駄な争いを避け、平和を実現するものだった。
さっきチャクラがくっついてお前の過去が見えた。あんたと俺は、俺たちもおかげ目指したのも一緒だ。本当にそっくりだ。なんで急に俺なんかの自分に嘘をつくようなやつは嫌いだ。
お前も俺も望んでも届かないものだな。
そう簡単にいくか。俺たちの生きてる間にできることは知れてる。だから託していかねばな。先の者がやってくれる。相変わらず甘いな。
この葉の君を駒に例えるのか。俺は桂馬だからな。なんだそれ。アスマンがそう言ってた。
お前の性格をよく分かってやがったな、アスナのやつも。あら、玉は誰に当たる？
木の葉を担うこれからの子供たち、それが玉さ。
そうだ、忍びの時代は終わる。
だとしても俺は忍びだ。